What's going on, motorsports fans? This is Jared here with the Bearded Garagistas. Always with me is my brother Brett.
How you doing?
And we are stoked to talk about the first race weekend in Formula One. It was ridiculous. There was everything. There was spins. There was crashes. There was battles. There was head turning. And we're going to get into it right now. All right, Brett, where do you want to start, bro? Where do you want to start? Because we could start in so many different places.
I want to start here. Hold on, but
all right, start here.
with a
here?
preface. With a preface.
Preface,
okay?
My favorite word, preface.
Yeah. There was so much that happened. There is no way that we could talk about everything unless this podcast is going to be like 3 hours long, okay?
That's true.
So if we missed anything, you let us know. You let us know what you want to talk about. Comment, DM us. It don't matter, because I'll tell you one thing. We will never stop talking about it. The only reason these episodes are as long or short as they are is because, you know, we feel like people stop listening after a while, because we'll just talk about this all day.
That's a pretty factual statement right there.
Don't be shy to hit us up is what I'm saying. And if we miss something, don't be mad at us, because there's just so much. Like, we're going to miss shit.
All right. So where do you want to start? Because I want to start with Tsunoda, just because as one of the, three rookies in the field right now, Schumacher, Mazepin, and Tsunoda.
Yeah. You know what that means?
Tsunoda's the best out of all of them so far?
Just give Tsunoda the Rookie of the Year now. Just give it to him. Like, do we really have to wait? Just give it to Tsunoda.
I mean, it was...
Because... Like, put Mick Schumacher in competitive car, fine. I think that him and Tsunoda can go at it all day, right?
Well, they did in Formula 2.
Yeah, and you know what? Tsunoda, it was his first year in F2. He had some bad luck, and he still finished third in the championship. Whereas Schumacher takes some time to get into a series. That's always been the case. So it was his second year in F2. His first year was atrocious, by the way. I mean, I was all about the Mick Schumacher hype when he was going in as a rookie in Formula 2. And I was like, oh, man, Schumacher, this is going to be great. And I'm like, what is all the hype about? Where is this guy? And then second year comes around and, and it wasn't even like race win. It was just his consistency to always be near the top. Whereas Tsunoda was, as a rookie in Formula 2, where rookies in Formula 2 traditionally just don't grasp those tires. And he was getting poles and winning races. Like, Tsunoda's fast. And I think quali in his first ever race in Formula 1 showed that.
100% it did, because if you look at Q1, in Q1 he ran a 30.5. In Q2 he ran a 31.1. So he fell off in Q2. I don't know what the issue was. We didn't really hear from him. So
medium tires.
You think it was the medium tires he was on?
I mean, it probably contributed. What Martin Brundle believes is that Tsunoda has this style that allows him to pull off some crazy moves. Like Brundle was talking about Tsunoda taking a turn. I don't remember which one it was, 8 or something like that, where the car is sliding, like it's doing a drift. And Brundle's like, all right, he's going to spin it, right? That's what happens with these cars. Once you lose the tail end, you spin. Like, there's no control. And Tsunoda controlled it and came out and freaking gunned it. And Brundle was just like, wow, he's got an amazing, finesse style.
That's that Tokyo drift, baby. Ding,
right?
ding, 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 ding.
So Brundle says, but when he misses and he doesn't hook up the lap, he misses. So he could be really on or he could be off.
Well, let's see where this goes, because he might
the medium tires.
He might kind of fit into and find his groove, because if you look at his Q1 running that 30.5, if he runs that in Q2 and in Q3, that puts him about 5th, 6th place, right around his teammate Gasly. For a rookie, that's phenomenal. He's running for you to be running Q3 times in Q1 give him some time, let him find his bearings. And I do agree. I know exactly what turn. Can't remember which one it was on the racetrack, but I know exactly what turn he's talking about. He pretty much came around that turn sideways, and he wasn't too bad in the race, but we'll get to the race in a minute. Let's stick with qualifying. There was a pretty big incident at the end of Q1. Well, there was an incident at the beginning of Q1 with Mazepin, as Brett likes to call him now, with Mazepin spinning.
Half the world calls him Mazepin. What are you talking?
And then
There's a website dedicated to when was the no, I'm serious. Like Kim Illman, who's a photographer in F1, was talking about on his YouTube channel, where he found this website. I don't know if it's called Mazepin.com or whatever it is. I don't know. But basically, the whole thing is, when was the last time Mazepin spun? And it has all 3 of his major spins from the weekend on there.
All right. So he spun in the beginning of Q1. Then he spun at the end of Q1, which that second spin at the end of Q1 really set a lot of people back. Namely,
why?
What do you mean, why?
So, there's multiple reasons.
It didn't, but it did.
Well, so exactly. But what I'm getting at is, even before the yellow flags, which is what you're alluding to, came out, was he broke the unspoken rule and overtook some of the drivers on the way to the line. So everybody was queued up, and here's Mazepin coming around, going past them, breaking it, and then spins and screws up all those people that he just royally screwed.
Well, he also came out. All right, listen, he is a rookie. He also came out and said, "I'm not aware of that rule." Whether he is or he isn't, he said, "I'm not aware of that rule." He apologized. He said it won't happen again now that he knows about it. It is an unspoken rule. It's an unwritten rule.
But how could I be a fan and know about this rule, and he be an F1 driver and not?
Again,
did he not watch quali in Monza in the last 2 years, where all they did was talk about that unspoken rule?
Listen to me. There was a high school recruit. I can't remember his name right now. He was the most sought after running back in the last 30 years. Coming out of high school, was recruited to his hometown college. He didn't want to go to his hometown college, but he went, right? So he stayed in the state. When he got drafted into the pros, he got drafted by the Detroit Lions. When he got drafted by the Detroit Lions, they asked him what his opinion was about going to Detroit and things like that. His literal answer was, "I don't know anything about any professional team." 0. He barely watched the sport. He didn't think about the sport. He didn't watch it at the pro level. He did what he did. So do I think that a rich kid like Nikita Mazepin, who races to have fun and enjoy his time, really thinks about the next level like that? Me and you, yeah, we'd always be gunning for that next level. But somebody who has it on their plate, somebody who could pretty much just buy their way in, probably doesn't even really think about it. I mean, I wonder what his knowledge of past Formula One would be. It's probably not as much as you'd think.
I don't know. I don't want to think about it.
All right. Well, let's listen.
Here, one more thing about Mazepin. Okay, I am getting fed up. I don't know if fed up's the right word, but it just bothers me that every 2 seconds, because of the stigma that's around him, everybody knocks him for why he shouldn't be in F1. That's not why he shouldn't be in F1. He shouldn't be in F1 because there's so many other people that are better than him.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what burns my ass about a flame this high? Listen, let's just say he spins at the end of Q1, and pretty much everybody took that chance to blame him. Now, personally, I don't think it affected as much as you think. And I'll back that up by saying this. Ocon said, he came over the radio when he didn't get out of Q1. He said, the yellow flags really set us back. And they didn't. His sector 1 time was just as fast as everybody else. It was his sector 2 and 3 times where the yellow flags weren't is what cost him his lap. Vettel, I will say, yeah, maybe Vettel got caught out. Wait, all right, let me fucking finish. Vettel, yeah, he got caught out. However, he still got a penalty for ignoring the yellow flags and not abandoning his lap. So apparently it didn't really affect him. So how did Vettel miss out on Q1?
Okay. what's shitty about Vettel's situation is from what I have heard is that he was past where the flags would have started. Right, he was past the marshal that was waving the double yellow flags before the marshal started waving the double yellow flags. But they were out elsewhere, but he was past that point. But he was still penalized. Like, there was no way. Like, he saw the guy spin, right? So maybe that's why.
Bro, this was a 5-point weekend.
It was impossible for him. I know, right? Impossible for him to have seen the yellow flags, but he was still penalized.
Yeah, I think I will say
explain 5-point weekend.
All right, I will say that I do think that his penalty in qualifying was bullshit. I'll say that. I'm not a Vettel fan. Everybody knows this. If you've listened to the podcast for more than 20 minutes, I'm not a Vettel fan and never have been. But his penalty for qualifying was bullshit. His penalty for qualifying caught him, what was it, 2 or 3 points? So you have penalty points. Everybody knows you have penalty points. It caught him like 2 or 3 penalty points. And in the race, when he went into the back of Ocon, that got him the other 2 or 3 points. And it rounded out to about 5 points. So he got 5 points on his license, on his Formula One license, in one weekend, the first weekend with Aston Martin, the first weekend of Aston Martin's first race.
And the points last for 12 months, a full year. And it just takes 12 points to be banned for one race. And he has 22 more races to go.
Which I would say that, I mean, it is Vettel. And with his record of, and his downward trend, I would say, in his skill of driving, and the more he becomes under pressure, it seems like he crumbles under that pressure. I mean, you look at it when he had Ricciardo came to Red Bull and put him under that pressure. He jumped to Ferrari. You put him in Ferrari. He had the same thing. At Ferrari, he had the same issue, especially with Leclerc. And now he's going to a team like Aston Martin, which I'm not saying Lance Stroll is going to put him under that pressure, but I do believe being on a new team, figuring out new things, and his previous showings have put himself under some pressure. So I believe that that's going to cost him some issues. So do I think that I'll see at least one more point on his license before the end of the year? Yes, but I don't think that he'll ever sniff a suspension. I just don't believe that's going to happen.
Yeah, but I feel bad for him because I don't remember in what episode, but there was an episode where I was like, I'm really excited to see what Vettel does at Aston Martin because, basically they have the Mercedes car, and there's one thing you could say about the Mercedes is that rear end is planted, and that's what Vettel loves. The fast forward to 2021, and we're going to get to this point later on, so I don't want to talk about it too much now, but long story short, Vettel doesn't have that planted rear end. The rear end of that car is terrible. It doesn't have any grip. So Vettel's right back where
I remember that episode.
Where he was with Ferrari.
I remember that episode. I lost my shit because you said Vettel likes a tight rear end.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good episode.
I said he doesn't like a loose
rear end. He doesn't like a loose rear end. Something like that. That was a good episode. Let's move on. Let's say based on qualifying, and I know we're not into the race yet, but based on qualifying, is Ferrari back? Leclerc, in my opinion, is literally the next great in the sport of Formula One. I really believe that if he gets like I said, if he gets a competitive car, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with because he is wrestling a car that shouldn't be where it is into positions of where it is. Now, don't get me wrong, Sainz did well as well. He brought that Ferrari up to the front. He was in Q3. First time we've seen two Ferraris in Q3 in a long time. But he also came out and said after the weekend that he drove the car too carefully. He didn't push it as much as he should have. So I'm really excited to see what he does in the next race because if he didn't push it this weekend and went to Q3 and did that well in the race, I'm interested to see what he does when he actually pushes the car. At this point, Leclerc has been in that car for 2-3 years, and he pretty much gets everything there is to get out of that car. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. And you know what? I mean, we've said it so many times, but just the future is just so bright for F1. You got Verstappen, Leclerc, Norris, Russell, Gasly. If Tsunoda could stick around, like just think about Lance Stroll. You could put him in there because he's freaking fast. Whatever you want to say about him, he's fast. All right, like you can't. In my opinion, and I messaged this to you the other day, was I don't want to hear anything else about Lance Stroll is only in F1 because of Lawrence Stroll when you got Nikita Mazepin on like Lance Stroll obviously belongs in F1. So I don't want to hear that crap anymore.
I'm still going to razz on the motherfucker. So you can say whatever you want to say. I don't believe the Mazepin should belong in Formula One. I believe there's a lot of Formula 2 drivers that are better than Mazepin and that are better than Stroll. So if you don't like it, I really don't care. Now, will I say he's a good driver? Stroll's a good driver. I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying, listen, it takes a certain type of person to race Formula One. I'm not saying that the man can't do it. I'm just saying that, is he the best of the best? No, there's somebody out there that's better than him. And I believe in Formula 2. I believe that Kayla Milot got shafted. I believe that there's a lot of people that should be in Formula 1 that never got the chance, that won't get the chance, and that's just the way it is.
That's the history of motor racing. But just to go back to your question of, is Ferrari back? What's your definition of back? Like, if they're competing for fourth, are they back? If they're competing for just third, are they back?
I think my definition would be, are they trending back to a point where they can be competitive again? Now, will I sit here and say 100% that they're back and they're going to start going after wins? No. God, no. They're nowhere close to the top two teams, so let's not get crazy there. Were they struggling to hold on against some of the midfield teams? Yes. But last year, they were atrocious. They were flat out atrocious. And if anything trends the way they're trending at the beginning of this season, I will say that they are in an upward trend. And hopefully they can carry this over, this momentum, this anytime. Listen, you might not be winning races, but you could even see it in the midfield teams when they score a podium, a surprise podium, or even if they come in, fifth, they're like, hey, that was a good weekend for us. That little bit of momentum, which is weird in motorsports, because that's a weird dynamic. You don't have that in hockey, football, any of the soccer, any of the big sports. You don't have that. You have to either win, score a goal. There has to be something monumental to gain that momentum in the game or the match or whatever you're in. Whereas in motorsports, you really don't need that. You have to do well for your team. Your team has to see progress, and that progress will drag them along. So, do I believe that they're back? I'm not saying that they're a championship contender, but I do believe that their competitiveness is back. And I believe that with the driver lineup that they have, with them making headway on the car, I believe they're trending in the right direction.
I have a conspiracy theory.
Oh, shit. Another engine thing?
I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory, of course. But it's my theory, okay? They were able to produce this engine that, with very little testing, that gets them so quickly back into the mix. My theory is that the deal struck between the FIA and Ferrari, that nobody is allowed to talk about, is that they had to keep their shitty engine for a whole year before they could introduce. Like, my theory is that they had this fix a long time ago. They knew how to get a fast engine. But their penalty with the FIA for doing the shady shit they were doing was that for a whole year, they had to run that engine with the cheating mechanism turned off, and they couldn't fix it.
First of all, they weren't cheating. All right. It never came out that they were cheating. So relax, slow your roll. Second of all,
I forgot you have a hard on for Ferrari.
I don't have a hard on for Ferrari. I'm just saying they weren't found in a rule violation. And
who's your favorite team?
Right,
who's your favorite team?
I don't know if I have a favorite team. I enjoy Ferrari. A few teams. No, they're not. I would say I enjoy McLaren and Williams more than I like Ferrari. But I like Ferrari more than I like Red Bull and Mercedes.
I can't pick a favorite either. There's just so many teams for so many different reasons that I root for. You know what I mean? Like McLaren, I pull for them because I want to see them get back on top. AlphaTauri, I pull for them because
they're an underdog.
I like Gasly and Tsunoda, and I'd love to see them take it to Red Bull. and so on and so on. Haas because they're American or Russian, whatever you want to call them.
All right. Why you gotta be an asshole? I'll just say you gotta bring that up. This is a sore subject. Just leave it alone.
All right, can we get to the race?
Yes, we got 2 more things to go over. All right, okay. 2 more. We'll skip the whole Norris starting next to Sainz in the race because I thought that was hilarious.
He waved to him in practice.
Yeah, they waved to each other in practice, which he said he was going to do that before at the end of last season. He said I'll wave to him on my way by.
Yep.
2 things I want to talk about before we get into the race. Okay, the first thing is Raikkonen's radio message was by far the most hilarious part of the entire weekend. Again, Raikkonen.
Yep.
I mean, if he was a stand-up comedian, it would probably be the most thrilling thing from the most boring guy. Because if you didn't hear the radio message, he's on the radio and he's like, "Can you hear me? Radio check." And the guy's like, kind of answering him, but not. And he's like, "Can you hear me?"
No.
And he goes, "No, I can't hear you." And he goes, "Can you hear me?" He says, "No, I can't hear you."
I can't
but
hear
you answer then. he's like, "Why the fuck are you answering me?" It was great. I love Raikkonen. I'm gonna miss him when he leaves.
Go find it. It's on F1's YouTube page. The Sounds of the Week. Oh my goodness, it's so funny.
It's hilarious. And then the second thing I wanted to talk about was the F2 battle. Did you watch any of the F2 races?
Did I watch the F2 races?
Shame on me for actually asking that question.
I watched
apparently.
F2 races before you watched F2 races, my man.
They were phenomenal. The battles
it's
are
one of the
intense.
best racing series in the world. I said it. It is. Wow. It's one of the best racing series in the world. It's up there with IndyCar in their close battling with, like, I don't care if it's somewhat a spec series. First off, if you know anything about F2, calling it a spec series makes you sound ignorant because those teams are ignorant. Don't say it like that. You even got me saying it like that. Jackass. But like those teams are so different. They're so different. I don't care if it's a spec series. Those teams are so different. And the racing is just so damn entertaining.
I think I'll say it like this. Formula 2 is like collegiate sports. So like, you go into the pros and you're like, these people are getting paid a ton of money. They don't really want to be here. Like, they don't care who wins or doesn't. It's like college. They got, you're in, college basketball, college football, how like passionate it is. And everyone is there because they want to win. They want to play. I feel like that's how Formula 2 is. And that's because they have one more next level in Formula 1. So they're all trying to kind of show out to get there. But Formula 2 brings out the best in people. Let's get to race day. I know you want to get to race day, so let's get to race day. We're going to kick this off by saying, rest in peace, Mr. Murray Walker. He will be missed. If you grew up, when we grew up, he was the sound of Formula 1 for a very long time. He made it thrilling. He made it to where you wanted to watch even some of the boring races, and he was just that kind of personality. It doesn't seem like anybody ever had a problem with Murray Walker. Nobody ever called him out. Everybody loved to give him their time. And they had a beautiful tribute to him at the beginning of the race. And I really enjoyed that. I don't know if you have anything to say on that, but that's what I have to say on that.
No, I mean, not much to add. I love his Murray-isms. I love how he owned his Murray-isms. And I like the tribute that Williams did as well.
Oh, what does he say? Halo. He said, I don't make mistakes. I make predictions that turn out to be wrong or something like that.
Immediately or wrong. Or immediately wrong.
That was great. So the run up after, if you watched qualifying, you were into this race. All right. Just the qualifying made it so intense that before the race, I don't remember the last time I sat on the edge of my couch before the race and was like ready to go. I was stoked to see the 5 lights. I was stoked to see Perez stall before getting to the grid.
What?
Oh, it was hilarious. It was hilarious because we've been talking for months about how Red Bull cannot field 2 cars and take care of 2 cars. And the race didn't even start yet, and it was back to the same old shit. Now, I will say, and we'll bang this out right now because it came up. Sergio Perez is the perfect driver for Red Bull's number 2 seat, and I'll say it why. Because they can forget about him, they could screw up his car, they could screw up his race, and he'll still drive back from the back of the field and get a good showing. Now, it screws up Max Verstappen because if they actually got him out front with Max, he'd be able to play the games that Mercedes plays and be able to battle back. But if there was any other driver that was better than Sergio Perez, I urge you to find him, because Perez fits the Red Bull number 2 seat because they are horrible with 2 drivers. In my opinion, they should field 1 car and just ride it out. Just ride it the fuck out.
I'm so conflicted because I really want Perez to do well. 1, because I know he has the talent to do so, and 2, because he deserves it. On the other hand, I want that second car. I want to say Perez. I don't want Perez to do bad. I want the second car to kind of do bad, to show the world that it wasn't Gasly and Albon, because I don't think it was Gasly and Albon.
I don't think it was Gasly and Albon either. I think that it's funny is because Christian Horner repeatedly will say, oh, if you can't deal with the pressure, you can't be in the seat. And I get it. But the pressure should come from outside sources. If you really, in my opinion, if you really want your team to do well, yeah, you don't put them under that pressure, especially for somebody who's coming in to fill in the seat mid-season or anything like that. Like, my opinion would be, yes, there's pressure. And of course, you're going to feel it from your own team. They know as Formula One drivers, as racing drivers, they can lose their seat at any time. They don't need any further pressure than you. The media is going to be on their ass 24/7. You as a team should be, we're backing our driver 100%. And you could see Red Bull tried to do that with Albon. It's like they completely dropped the ball with Gasly. They were like, they just screwed the fucking pooch with that one. And then they were like, all right, well, we have to learn our lesson. We have to support our driver. And with Albon, they started to do that. And then as soon as they saw Perez, they were like, all right, fuck Albon.
I've said this before. Red Bull did it the wrong way. They should have given Gasly more time at Red Bull. They should have given Albon more time at what was then Toro Rosso, right? They potentially screwed up both those guys' careers. Gasly's making a go of it just because he's talented, right? But they screwed up both those guys' careers by doing what they did, and then not being so caught up in their own skill and ability that they can't admit when they're wrong.
Dude, Gasly's jumping ship, baby. Everybody sees it coming. Everybody's talking about it. He's definitely jumping ship. Gasly would not be in a Red Bull contract, whether it's Toro Rosso, AlphaTauri, Red Bull, fucking doesn't matter. He will not be in a Red Bull contract past, I believe, next year, maybe the year after.
Either that, or if AlphaTauri can really become a true sister team, I'd love to see him vie with Verstappen or just thereabout, and everybody know that the only reason AlphaTauri is in contention is because of Gasly's skill. I'd like to see that too. I do believe he's going to jump, and he should, but I also he just meshes with that team so well. I would love to see him become a multi-race winner with that outfit.
Sure. So we're going to go into the second funniest thing that happened in the race weekend. And it's not this first part. I'll tell you what it is. Don't get too ahead of me, all right? But I will say that Mazza spin going off in turn 3. All right, first lap, turn 3. I thought maybe he had some contact with somebody to get him spinning off into the wall, but apparently he just lost it on cold tires. He was all by himself and put himself on the wall and destroyed his race and ended the day for Haas and destroyed the car. So I don't know if Papa Mazza Spin needs to write another check to Gene Haas, but it cost him a good pretty penny in the first race and he didn't even make it through a lap. So the part that I found the second funniest part of the weekend was the announcer. I can't remember the guy's name, not Crofty, the other dude that's up in the box with him. He literally goes, there is no reason to be spinning off the grid when you're in the slowest car on the grid and all alone. Hilarious.
Yep, that was Martin Brundle. But what's even better is you say he couldn't finish one lap. He couldn't finish 3 laps. He had 2 laps in quali. He spun both. He had 1 lap in the race and he spun. He literally did not finish 1 lap that mattered in the whole weekend. He had 3 shots and spun on all 3.
He got the car to the grid though. He didn't have to start from the pit lane. So I will say that. And then what was the driver that was like, oh, well, I don't feel so bad for spinning on lap 60 or some shit like that.
Jack Aiken says he puts out a tweet saying, "I suddenly don't feel so bad about spinning on lap 60."
So now I
suddenly feel okay that I made it to lap 60, something like that.
It was so hilarious. Funny. Another pretty impressive thing that we didn't know during the time of watching the race. If you watch the McLarens, they were really good. I was kind of wondering how Norris was able to get in front of Ricciardo and then pretty much just hold him off the whole race. And Ricciardo actually didn't even make any headway on trying to catch Norris. And I thought that was a little weird. Yes, I know Norris has been in the car from last year, but this is Ricciardo. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. So I was kind of worried about that and wondering why that was happening. And we found out after the race. So in the beginning of the race, Gasly, who this disappointed me because I was really rooting for Gasly to finish well, to do well. He rear-ended Ricciardo. And in doing so, other than Gasly losing his front wing, it damaged the floor on Ricciardo's McLaren. And apparently that's what was causing him to lose some time through the race and things like that and have less control of the car. So that kind of destroyed both of their races. That sent Gasly all the way to the back, and he pretty much just mulled around the back for the entire race. Ricciardo held on, but it definitely took the competitiveness out of his car.
Yeah, you could tell he just couldn't do what Norris was able to do, and I don't think that's some of that's down to his first time racing the car, and getting used to the brakes and whatnot. But a big chunk of that is just the floor. Just to pick up like what you're talking about, McLaren. Like, do you think that they can be like a lot of people think that they can win races on merit this year? Like, their lineup is strong, and I think Ricciardo will get there, especially with a car that has a floor in one piece.
I think Ricciardo with a floor I think he'll be competitive. I think he'll get some maybe third place drives, a couple of surprise podiums. Could they battle for a win? Of course. But I think that battle would come from some kind of chaos out of Mercedes and Red Bull. Because right now the clear two are Hamilton and Verstappen, and we all see that.
Not Bottas?
No, and I think that if just simply put, if something goes wrong like we saw last year, some craziness that happened here and there, I do think that there's a chance that we can see a Ricciardo or a Norris maybe take a second or a win possibly, but the stars would have to align for something like that.
Yeah, and just to go way back and also just talking about what happened in the race. I mean, Mick Schumacher spin. I think that goes more towards the Haas's shit. I mean, they are not going to develop this car at all, except they are bringing their last upgrade package at the next race at Imola. But after that, they're done with 2021 and all focus is on 2022. And I promise you, Mick Schumacher is sitting there crossing his fingers saying, please, 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 oh, please let this fix the rear end instability.
I hope it does, but I don't think Mick Schumacher has anything to worry about, especially the fact that...
No, just from him wanting to compete, not that he has anything to worry about. I think his future is secure for, at least this year. Like, he's not going to be dumped from F1, but just from a competitive standpoint.
Yeah, I can see that. I can understand where you're going with that. So I have to say that the Sainz-Vettel-Alonso battle was fantastic. Those three guys went at it for a good while. It was really interesting to see Sainz and Alonso, being that Alonso is Sainz's hero. To watch them go at it was really interesting. It was really cool, and I really enjoyed that. Alonso ended up retiring for one of the most ridiculous things I've ever witnessed in a Formula One race. He had a sandwich bag get caught in a brake duct, and he had a brake issue, and they had to retire the car.
That's why he locked up in that battle with Vettel.
So that was an interesting way to welcome the fans back to the sport by getting a sandwich bag caught in his brakes.
That's it. That's the big question. Was it fans or was it the marshal? Like, I'm dying to know.
So, like, I just picture some like fat marshal sitting in the corner, like eating a sandwich and just like throwing the bag on the floor, and then all of a sudden getting sucked up, and him just like looking like, oh shit.
Or another person was joking about, well, of course it got sucked up. Look at that freaking air vent on the top of the. But it was the brake duct.
It was the brake duct.
I know. I'm just quoting somebody else.
That's funny though. That is definitely funny. And shout out to Newman. If you don't know Newman, you know him now. He was 100% in saying that the McLaren's pit stops were trash, because if they took any longer, you could probably clock them with a sundial. What the fuck was going on? They're like a full 2 seconds longer than Red Bull. They're a full Red Bull stop longer than Red Bull. That's how ridiculous it is. So I don't know what.
Hopefully it's just rust. Hopefully it's just rust.
Hopefully they knock off those cobwebs and they'll be good to go. But yeah, we already talked about Perez. I had him written down here on a note. Let's go back to Vettel hitting Ocon. So it was really funny and really interesting. And yes, this caused more points on Vettel's license, like we said before. But when he rear-ended Ocon, he blamed Ocon. He said that Ocon was moved. He moved in the braking zone. And then it's really funny because the announcers replayed it and they're like, nope, Ocon never moved. This is 100% on Vettel. And Vettel did go.
He said it again in talking to the media after he say it in anger. All right, you're wrong, but saying it in anger is one thing. To get out of the car, walk over to the media pen and say the same thing again,
which I'm surprised he did, because it looked like there was an onboard camera that caught him apologizing to Ocon after the race. He shook his hand. He walked straight up to his car. Ocon was trying to get out of his seatbelt. Ocon gets out of the seatbelt. He's standing in the seat, and Vettel shakes his hand. So it looked like Vettel was saying, hey, that was my fault. So why does Vettel then go up in front of the camera and still say it was Ocon that moved?
No, but that would have been after, maybe?
No, he still had his helmet on.
I don't know. I don't know the order. I don't know. But
we'll see.
I got nothing for you.
Brett's like, I got nothing for you. I tried to help you out. I tried to help out Vettel, but I got nothing for you. And then we're gonna get into the craziness that was pretty much the show. All right, let's go with the Hamilton Verstappen battle that happened.
Can I do one thing first, because I want to end on that, but I don't want to skip this.
All right, so hit your thing.
My thing is what was funny, and Ted Kravitz hit it. No matter what they would have asked Otmar Safnauer, the Aston Martin, I almost said Racing Point, the Aston Martin team principal, his answer would have been, these new regulations with the floor really screwed us because of rake and blah, 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 and rake. So if you guys don't know, I mean, and everybody's talking about it, but there's some teams that run flat rake, like Mercedes. I mean, we talked about it last time when we talked about testing. And then other teams who run high rake, like Red Bull and AlphaTauri. So what I find ironic about this, and I'm not going to go too much into that, but what I do find ironic is Racing Point, when they were Racing Point, ran high rake, because even though they got an engine from Mercedes and they got a buttload of parts from Mercedes, this is pre-pink Mercedes days, they ran high rake. And it wasn't until they became Racing Point and they took the 2019 Mercedes that they switched to the low rake philosophy. And now fast forward another year, and they cannot stop bitching that the reason that they're bad is because are a low rake car, and that the FIA unfairly are affecting and impacting these low rake cars, and the high rake cars have no, downforce loss. Whoa. But I'm gonna quote Toto Wolff from Drive to Survive when he says, these people that are complaining are just doing so because they didn't do a good enough job. And this goes back to
copying somebody else's design.
Exactly. and not being able to develop it. Okay. Because, Mercedes have the same thing. Mercedes have a low rake design and they were atrocious in testing. But you know what? In 2 weeks, they got on top of it.
Yep.
And they're competitive. They're not, shutting Red Bull out, but they're competitive. Whereas Aston Martin's finishing P10 and P15.
Yeah, they're struggling.
And not even, and one of their cars not even getting to Q2. So I think that that's less rake, which it may be. It may be affecting the low rake cars more. But I think that's a bigger point of it's harder to develop something that you've purely copied from somebody else.
For sure. Now we're going to get into the Verstappen-Hamilton battle. If you didn't watch the race, you owe it to yourself to watch the race. I don't care if this spoils it for you, like some people on social media would say. I really need you to shut your fat mouth. Formula One literally put out the same exact post we did, and I got razzed on Instagram or Twitter. I can't remember. I think it was Twitter, because we posted the qualifying, where everybody qualified, and somebody razzed us about ruining it for them because they T-voted. Listen, Formula One posted the same thing. You could still watch it. It's still very exciting, and I'm going to do it for the rest of the year. So just don't follow me. And it's funny is because he said I don't follow you. Block me. I don't care.
Which means he was following the damn hashtags.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to not know the results of quali, what the hell are you looking at the hashtags for?
Yeah, just stay off social media. When I want to watch something and I don't know what happened, stay off the fucking social media, bro.
Wait, hold on. When there's like a show that's like the whole world is watching, like Game of Thrones, right? If you didn't watch it live, you stayed the fuck off social media.
Yeah, 100%. Right? Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, they win. This is not to ruin your Game of Thrones for you, but there was a lot that happened in the Verstappen-Hamilton battle. Hamilton had Bottas kind of putting pressure on Verstappen enough to try to play a tire game. They ran through their medium set of allocated tires, so they were playing with hards only, whereas Red Bull had some mediums, had some hards, and they played relax, and they played with those as well. So if you really got to watch the race, because it was a really good battle. The undercut is always very strong in Bahrain, and I'm not entirely sure why Red Bull didn't take advantage of the undercut. It's kind of like they always were waiting for Mercedes to do what they do, and I feel like this kind of goes against Red Bull in a way where they're always reacting to Mercedes instead of taking the lead and making Mercedes react to them. I always want to bring somebody out of their comfort zone. If you're going to sit there and allow them to run their race and make their decisions and give them the time to do these calculations, they're going to come out on top. Red Bull has to start putting Mercedes on the back foot, make the decision first, do some craziness, get them rattled, make them think and kind of do their calculations fast and try to see if they can do the same progress from the back foot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, Red Bull might have the best car right now, but what Mercedes still has is the best strategy. And what this race showed was strategy can be the defining factor, because that's exactly what this was. Red Bull screwed the pooch in strategy, and they can say all they want that they didn't have a rear gunner. Bullshit, because Bottas was nowhere, and not his fault because of the pit stop. So you can't say, like, that may have been a factor early on where they stopped early with one and went long with the other. Okay, I get that. But you had more tire allocations, fresh tires, than Mercedes did. You had the options on what to do. And basically, they determined, their strategy guys failed in recognizing that Mercedes, having Lewis Hamilton, who's the tire master, can stretch that last set of hards all the way to the end. They were convinced that Hamilton was going to, I think they were convinced, and Ted Kravitz said the same thing, that they're going to need to stop again. But you know why? Because they have Lewis Hamilton, and he's a tire whisperer. That's what it comes down. Well, it helps also when you're extending, the limits. A little easier on the tires.
Well, we're going to get to that because I'm going to tell the whole story about that in 1 second.
So that's what happened.
All right.
Red Bull would not get off of their strategy to react to Mercedes because they thought they would be able to take it to the end. What they should have done, instead of going medium, medium, hard, they should have, I think, gone medium, hard, medium, so that they had that option to try and stretch it out on one tires with Verstappen. And if they couldn't, they had a medium at the end to fight Mercedes instead of a set of hards.
All right, fair enough. I mean, maybe we can get you on the strategy team for Red Bull. But if you follow Formula Hypersoft News on Instagram, it's a good follow. The guy does a pretty good job, with some random stats and some follow-ups and things like that. And I just want to go over some of the posts that he made about the battle between Verstappen and Hamilton. And what was cool about it was he also posted one of the rules and the rules about going off the track. So there was a big thing about track limits this weekend. Excuse me. There was a big thing about track limits this weekend. They made it sound that out of turn 4, there were pretty much no track limits. During qualifying, you had to have at least 2 tires on the red and white rumble strips. But after that, unless you gained a clear advantage during the race, they were allowing them pretty much to do whatever they wanted.
Clear and lasting advantage.
Clear and lasting advantage, and it turned out to be a shit show. And Brett and I are 100% wanting, and I think Brett is, but 100% wanting some solid, clear rules. Brett and I have always been to the fact that you should keep it within the white lines. Not the red and white lines, the white lines, because that's the track. Let's go back to the 50s where there was grass lining the track, and if you did that, you'd spin off into oblivion. So if we're doing it for safety and we're flattening out these turns for safety to where you have a little bit of a runoff just in case some shit goes wrong, you shouldn't be taking advantage of it to progress your race. So I think you should keep it within the white lines. And I think Brett feels the same way. And this caused a ton of controversy towards the end of the race. I think it caused a ton of controversy pretty much straight from the get-go.
Two quick points. First point is, at least me, I am not saying that Verstappen should have kept that place. That was an illegal overtake. It was done off the track. He needs to give it back.
I'm going to argue that.
That is being consistent with F1 rules. If you overtake with all 4 tires off the track, you give it back. That is something that's been consistent through F1's history.
I'm going to argue.
For the most part.
I'm going to argue.
For the most part. I will also say that if you're going to tell me that these guys can't keep it in the white lines because they couldn't do it last year, and Max Mosley had to... Max Mosley? Is that what the guy's name is?
I don't remember.
I know there's 2 guys with similar names, and I always screw them up.
Dude, anyway, it could be Max Kellerman, I believe you.
He changed his own rules because the guys kept going off at turn 4 last year. They kept going off. They said, we can't police this. So many are going off. Well, you know what? That just shows them that, hey, guys, if we all get together and just go off, then track limits don't matter. All right. But you put them on a circuit that has grass there, no runoff. Do they go off?
Exactly.
No matter how tight that damn turn is, they don't go onto the grass.
All right. So let's get to what this guy wrote, because I really enjoyed this post that he made. It's a slide of pictures with a lot of explanation of pretty much what happened, right? It says, in the first stop of the Bahrain GP, Hamilton performed a perfect undercut on Verstappen, getting in the lead. On lap 53 of 56, Verstappen had better tires than Lewis and had closed the gap of over 7 seconds, opening DRS in the main straight. He finally overtook Hamilton around the outside of turn 4. Lewis Hamilton left the track at turn 4 a total of 29 times in the 56 laps of the race. Probably gaining times. It says probably gaining an advantage of it. Now, you told me earlier who said something that they gained. So
Christian Horner came out and said that going off the track there, was it? I think he said 0.2. I think he said it was 0.2. Hold on, I'm checking.
0.2 per lap. It would have gained him 0.2 per lap.
So each time he did it is 0.2. So 29 times gives you 5.8 seconds.
So if you don't know, Verstappen lost that race by 7/10. On top of that, by running that turn wide, it saves Hamilton's tires. So if he's gaining, that's personally to me, that's a lasting advantage. All right. So right there, that shit goes right out the window. He continues to say, however, in the driver's briefing, race control said they wouldn't monitor track limits at turn 4 during the race. They still told Hamilton mid-race to stop going off the track at that point. I believe that's because they started to see the overlasting advantage. Now,
Red Bull put in a complaint, and that's when the steward said to Lewis, "You got to stop."
Now, if you watch the replay of Verstappen's overtake on Hamilton, he said while ending the overtaking maneuver, Verstappen's car oversteers and he has to correct it, turning left and going off the track. In order to stay on track, he would have needed to exit the turn with slightly less speed, which would have put him in risk of losing back the position. This means he gained a lasting advantage, which is against Article 27.3 of the 2021 Formula Sporting Regulations. Now, I get that. Now, however, I will also say that once you read the rules, you might think of it, it's even more shady than it was before. Now, will I say 100% he should have gave the place back? Yeah, I agree with you. He gave the place back. He did the right thing. Would Hamilton have given the place back? I probably doubt it, but he gave the place back. So I give it to him, okay?
Hamilton would have. He just would have done it in a smarter area where he would have been able to come right back out.
Again, yes, Verstappen should have given it up in a smarter area. I think he was afraid of getting a penalty, and that's why he gave it back so quickly. But I'll say that, did the right thing happen? Yes. The way the rules are vaguely written and how shitty they are, everything happened, and Hamilton did. I can't take anything away from Hamilton. He didn't have any tires. He clearly didn't have any tires on this one. He wasn't just that he was bitching about it and he actually had tires. He didn't have any tires left. And he drove a phenomenal defensive race for the last 4 laps to hold off Verstappen. I can't say he didn't. All right. So I'm not taking anything away from Hamilton in that sense. All right. I will say that he did everything that he needed to do to win this race within the regulations that was put, even though the regulations were vague. Now, this Article 27.3, Formula Hypersoft News actually posted the article, which I really enjoyed. It says drivers must make every reasonable effort to use the track at all times and may not deliberately leave the track without a justifiable reason. Drivers will be judged to have left the track if no part of the car remains in contact with it, and for the avoidance of doubt, any white lines defining the track's edges are considered to be part of the track, but the curbs are not. Should a car leave the track and the driver may rejoin, however, this may only be done when it is safe to do so and without gaining a lasting advantage. At the absolute discretion of the race director, a driver may be given the opportunity to give back the whole of any advantage he gained by leaving the track. Now, here's more gray area. If you read that first line, and I'm going to paraphrase, it says, and may not deliberately leave the track without justifiable reason. All right. Now, first off, Hamilton was deliberately leaving the track without justifiable reason because apparently it doesn't get you an advantage for the first half of the fucking race. Put it onto that. Verstappen didn't leave the track because he was going around Hamilton. Verstappen left the track because he had to oversteer. He had an oversteer and he corrected the steering. So in my opinion, and yes, I know I'm splitting hairs here, but he could argue that because of the oversteer is the reason why he had to leave the track, not because he was going too fast, which that's what causes oversteer sometimes, but he could have said my tires were gone, therefore I corrected the oversteer. Now, it did give him the lasting advantage. So the second part of that rule still plays. I get that. But then you have two things, and you understand. I don't know if you're seeing it, but what I'm trying to say is the vagueness of these rules is an issue. All right, whether you leave the track deliberately or not deliberately, you still have to give the place back. So that whole sentence right there, cut that shit out, get rid of it. Don't need it. I mean, it's just causing more vague area. It's causing more gray area. And then on top of that, you're saying that every day we get to the track, we're going to say, hey, listen, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. Bullshit. There's white lines on the track for a reason. Everybody stays within the white lines of the track. We don't have any problems. There's no gray area. There's no vague. There's no nothing. This is how we race. This is how we've always raced, and it's done. I don't understand what the fucking problem is.
That's the thing. Listen, and that's what it comes down to. That's what I believe. I hear what you're saying with all the other stuff. I just think what it comes down to, what the part of it that bothers me is more of what Hamilton was doing than what happened to Verstappen. So I think this comes down on Michael Massey. That's the race director. Michael Massey needs to stick to something that is not left to human judgment. All right. That white line is a physical white line. You go over it, you go over it. Make it the curbs. If you go over the curbs, you went over the curbs. To say that it's neither of those and it's down to lasting advantage and using it too much.
It's a fucking
now
judgment
you're
call.
into right. And that's what bothers me. Why is it a judgment call? You have white lines, you have curbs. I want it to be the white lines. I do. I want it to be the white lines. But I understand making it the curbs if you have to. Don't then make it a judgment call because you think they can't stop going out there. Trust me, they can. Trust me, they can. And
Hamilton wouldn't have done it 29 times if it wasn't saving his tires and gaining him speed. He wouldn't have done it.
You had MotoGP who was out there with pressure sensors. So the second that even one tire went off the track, they were called on track limits.
That'd be beautiful. That would be beautiful.
Yep.
Thing of fucking
sensors. Beauty. The second you hit it, you got knocked for track limits.
I'll say this:
take the human out of it. Yeah. White line, curbs, radar sensors, pressure sensors. I don't give a shit. Stop making it up to the stewards or the race director of whether somebody is going out of track limits and getting a lasting advantage.
I have to agree with you. So finally, to wrap up this show, this race weekend was phenomenal. Formula 2 was phenomenal. Formula 1 was phenomenal. Congratulations to Hamilton on his win. Verstappen is going to give him his run for the money for the rest of the year. I am probably more stoked about this Formula 1 season than I have been in the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot wait for the next round. I cannot wait to see how Ferrari does. I can't wait to see how McLaren does. I know it's brutal. They just fucking just slapped you in the face with it. Ferrari, McLaren, watch Red Bull and Mercedes go at it. I want to see Yuki Tsunoda. I want to see what he can do. I want to see what Gasly can do when he bounces back next, in the next race.
Up and down the whole grid.
Listen,
there is something to watch up and down the whole grid.
This year is going to be
even the
exciting.
Tail end. You got Williams and Haas battling. You got Mazepin trying to stay on the track. Up and down the whole grid. There's something to watch.
For sure. And I'm so stoked. We still do have to do our review of Drive to Survive. We'll get it out there. We'll get it out there. We promise. It's coming. All right. We're going to probably sit down, hopefully, and watch it together one of these weekends. We'll binge watch it. I've watched it already, but I just got to review it one more time. But if you're not excited about this year's Formula 1, I don't know what the hell is wrong with you. I can't wait to get another show out to you. We're going to get another interview coming up here real soon, I believe. I have one scheduled soon. I will let you know.
And then a possible nice interview coming up. We need to hit up our boy Rennie.
Yes, we do. We got to hit up Rennie. So we got a couple of good, treats for you. Hopefully we can get a NASCAR race going. Bristol was fire in the dirt. It was an awesome race. Shitty that Logano won, but
gimmicky.
I don't give a fuck. It was fun, dude. And they already announced they're doing it next year. So I'm stoked.
No, I saw
and
that.
Then they follow up dirt racing with the race at Martinsville on the short track. Little bump and run action, baby. Everybody loves a bump and run. So yes, we thank you for joining us. I know I'm crazy. We thank you for joining us tonight. It is a late night for us, but we always want to be bringing these shows to you. We enjoy doing it.
Bitching.
Fuck you. Go ahead and like, subscribe, follow us, comment, give us 5 stars. Let's enjoy it. Some feedback, talk to us, see what you like. And we really appreciate you guys joining in, and we will see you guys soon. Peace.
Peace.